we're running. Our colleagues will soon start the video and the loading. But I know that we have some guests joining because this is the second week. On the first day of the second week, it's always normal that there are new colleagues. Just while we are watching, because it's just music, it's nothing real that you can miss, and you can read in the subtitles. Maybe you can start to just introduce yourself so that we know who we are.
Hello, my name is Vincent Chauvet. I'm a member of the Committee of the Regions, the European Committee of the Regions for the Renew Group, and I am mayor of inhabitant city in France, Burgundy.
Hello, I'm Pippa Hayling, and I'm from the Local Government Association for England and Wales, and I'm a councillor in South Cambridgeshire.
Hello everyone, I'm Yann François, Head of Climate Energy Sector Economy Strategy for the City of Paris. That's better? People again or?
So hello everyone again, I'm Vincent Chauvet. I'm a member of the European Committee of the Regions and mayor of the city of Autun in Burgundy, France.
Hello, I'm Pippa Haylings from the Local Government Association of England and Wales and councillor in South Cambridgeshire.
Hello everyone, I'm Yann François, City of Paris, Head of Climate Energy Circular Economy Strategies.
My name is Marieke Schouten, and I'm also a member of the COF Committee of the Regions and an alderman in the city of Nieuwegein, which is in the central parts of the Netherlands.
Hello everyone, I'm Eloise Chicou and I'm the climate lead for Regions for Sustainable Development.
Hello, so I'm sorry? Oh. Hello, I'm Neil Walmsley. I'm with Climate Kick, which is a European innovation agency for climate change. Thank you.
And I'll conclude the round. My name is Roberto Rinaldi, and I'm a policy officer at the European Committee of the Regions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Cale Roberts with the ICLEI USA office.
So welcome to this, the first briefing of the week. I see so many colleagues joining us. We have repeated these meetings, and also they're all available on the web. I don't know whether you had the chance to go through it. If you have done so, we can skip this because there's information that is already available. We can come back when you have questions. But first of all, welcome to Glasgow for those who joined in the second week. We are very happy that you arrived safely. You managed to go through each steps of your test kits and then successful management of the process. The issue is Joe, if you can go to the slide. As I said, I would like to skip the introductory parts, but let's go to Joe. First of all, I really want to start with, once again, page 4, just to recall our colleagues. Yes, on 31st of October, we had at the beginning of the COP, we had a press conference, and we have announced our Glasgow Time for Multi-Level Action Roadmap. This was based on the consultation we had throughout the year. It has 4 main blocks. First of all, we want the multi-level collaboration to be recognized as the new normal. And we will come back to this because now it's time to push for it because we have now a draft text available. and there are certain areas that we can insert, or let's say push to insert this. Second point is on especially finance. And throughout last week, there was a number of discussions on Article 6. Our position is that local energy governments can play a role in both Article 6.4, which is the emissions trading scheme, or let's say flexibility mechanisms or market-based approaches. These are the languages that was used in the Kyoto era. At the moment, we don't know what will be the definition in the new era of the Paris Agreement. And the second group is Article 6.8, which is the non-market mechanisms. And in our proposal, we are pushing the idea that, especially for the flexibility or market-based approaches, both as the hosts like Tokyo, Quebec, urban and provincial emissions trading scheme could be important. And especially also developing country is, they're also hosting a number of CDM projects, and we want them to increase, of course. But of course, what will it look like, we don't know. But the most important point was the 6.8, Article 6.8, where we're pushing for the idea to integrate sustainable, integrated urban and territorial development as a non-market mechanism. So we will get to that. Just climate action, it's important that all the new vision is embraced. I think this will not be too much negotiation, that there's a very good consensus. I think it will be more in the implementation, because everybody's definition of just is a bit different. This is not just, let's say, but it's also important for us as well. And maybe we can recall tomorrow, Scottish government will have an important event here in this pavilion. And improving our engagement and mechanisms throughout the year, that we have robust processes within LGMA. The proposal is that we have both thematic working groups throughout the year, but also regional groups to come up, so that we don't lose this momentum during the year. And especially, there are so many processes going on that we have to participate more professionally and more, let's say, skillfully, and then share this information as together. Joe, if you go to the next slide, again, let's remember why we are pushing for multi-level action, because we have seen that it is really a game changer. It is really a beacon of hope. It is really, if you look at now, we are talking about more than 60 countries. Those are the ones who have raised ambitions because they work with local energy governments. This constitutes more than 60% of those countries who have raised ambitions. Obviously, the current ambitions are still weak and still not enough. But the second NDCs that is presented until today, some of them are better than previous ones, and those who are better than the previous ones are better because multi-level collaboration has played a role. This goes to USA, this goes to Japan, Korea, Rwanda, Dominican Republic. You can see Global South and Global North is united in this front. So it's a cross-cutting agenda. Therefore, we want this to be in every nation a new normal, so that it makes much more faster acceleration of raising ambitions. We don't wait for 5 years, but it's even implemented earlier. So we'll come back to that. Just next slide, we'll not go it, but let's show our the other slide, number 7. We are thankful this space that we have been in touch, we have been in sharing with all of you is enabled with the global collaboration of the LGMA partners. It is particularly hosted by Scottish government, politically, technically, financially. They have been instrumental. Without their support, this wouldn't be possible. We as ICLE, we have played our role for being the convener, and we have both co-hosts and contributing partners and session partners. And among you, so many of those institutions are already here. We express our gratitude for all your participation. So let's go. Slide 10. This is like a summary. We have statements delivered at the beginning and on the 4th. So at the beginning, Mayor of Tegucigalpa, Honduras, at the opening statement, and at the open dialogue, Mayor of Recife has delivered the statements. We have our press conference available. The biggest announcement was that Race to Zero has reached to more than 1,000. Several announcements are coming up. Bulletins are released by those who are registered into the Hopin platform of Multi-Level Action Pavilion, but C40 is also circulating their daily bulletins. If you go to the citiesandregions.org/COP26, you can reach both those bulletins, but also C40 bulletins as well, so that you, even if you are not receiving those, you can click and read this summary or highlights. And we have another important announcement during the week. At the beginning in the agenda for finance, there was an announcement of a global alliance of subnational development banks, and there had been some others as well. So let's go. So this is mostly virtual. So most of the events, the UNFCCC website is really good. If you go to the next slide, Joe. Our press conference is published by the UNFCCC. Anyone who is hosting a press conference is able to have their webcast available. Again, the statements, go to the next slide, Joe. They are also available both in the language, original language, especially if it's a planner statement. If it is delivered in an original language, you can also listen in English as well. However, in the case of open dialogue, there were no translations. So this statement was delivered in English. Mayor Joao Campos has delivered this in English, but I've just seen on the Twitter that our colleagues from ICLE South America has also put a Portuguese subtitle into the video. So that's good that we can convey our messages effectively. So Joel, let's go to next 13. There has been last week a number of discussions and tense discussions or even a bit fearful negotiations between the constituencies, civil society groups, and the presidency. On Saturday morning, there was a debate, an open dialogue, which was, according to what we have heard, and Kale, you were...
Dear COP delegates, we kindly remind you to wear your face mask over your mouth and nose at all times during your time at the conference, unless you are seated in a room with appropriate distance, while eating or drinking or are medically exempt. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay. Good. So which means that if you're seated and if you are in a distance from others, you can remove your masks. That's the message. That's good. So yeah, on Saturday, Kale, you were at that meeting. If you like, you can share the atmosphere. According to your notes, I think there was a tense friction. The issue is the logistical information you're receiving is almost changing daily, how we get access. And also the preparatory phase is very, very difficult. So just as a background, 1 week before this COP started, there was a webinar publicly attended, and almost all the points that we highlighted at that call is taking place. Almost all the points that we say that please be aware, this could happen, is happening. So it's a pity that our recommendations are not exactly, let's say, taken into account, but it is what it is. So this is an important issue because how it will evolve in the second week. Of course, the first week was difficult because presidents were there, high level was there, so it was a bit challenging. Let's hope this process will be much better. There have been assurance that there will be some explanations. For example, again, on Friday, we had a dialogue observer constituencies with Europe, Executive Secretary. Both at this open dialogue, you can find around the 26 minutes or 27 minutes, Executive Secretary officially apologized from all constituencies about the challenges. I mean, having an official apology in a public event in the time when COP president was also sitting next to her was, of course, a brave and sincere move from Patricia Espinosa. Everybody welcomed this. Just on the background, 2 days before, there was a letter from several constituencies asking for an apology, both from Alok Sharma and Patricia Espinosa. The letter was on the way, but she said that I just express here verbally Whereas at the moment, as far as we know, there has been no apology from presidency, but executive secretary has apologized. So that's an important point that you should be aware of. Let's go, Kale, if you want later on during the discussion, you can come in about your observations about that meeting. So now we're, if you go to next slide, Joe. Yes, so on Saturday at 1 a.m., the subsidiary body meetings closed. That the closing statement original, there were no interventions foreseen by the observers. In a couple of hours, around 5 or 6 p.m., there was an announcement from the secretary that yes, we can intervene. And it was not so easy to react so quickly because we were all around the city and we were working. There are really very professionally well-prepared NGOs, colleagues, constituencies, much better than us, and that's what exactly we want to recall ourselves. They were already on site and they said that, yes, we want to intervene. We did not ask for a specific slot for LGMA because there were no one available. And more important, we did not know what was going on. So it was not necessary to take the floor. And the announcement was 6 p.m. It started at 11 p.m. So imagine if you want to take the floor, you would have to be waiting for 5 hours. This is the uniqueness of this, let's say, negotiation type meetings, that it's never clear and never guaranteed. Anyway, they delivered their statements, but what happened? Let's say, the important thing is that the technical negotiations have finished their work and several documents are announced. I think there's around 70 or so negotiation agenda items. In some negotiation agenda items, the decision, you go onto the website and you say, it's one page. It says that we couldn't agree, we couldn't find a consensus. Therefore, we are now handing this process to the presidency. An attachment is a document which on the left, on the right corner, if it was an officially adopted document, it would have the UNFCCC logo, it would have substa/2021/L, that it's a negotiated and final document. It could be possible that it could be an L document with some brackets, which means that overall they are not against, but there are some nuances that could still be possible. However, even this was not possible. The parties could not even agree on the basics of it. So we are talking about the Article 6 documents. There are other agenda items which were finalized, which is less substantial. For example, arrangements of intergovernmental meetings. If you go to the agenda item, you will click on it and you'll see an L document. So it was cleaned up. But for the Article 6, it's only, as you see, there's no logo, there's no official binding statement of this. This is a new text than what we discussed on Saturday and Friday. However, it is not approved and it contains a lot of brackets. There are important points. The things that I could notice, I mean, the logic is that the list of non-market mechanisms is still too broad. You see, adaptation, mitigation, clean energy sources, social inclusivity. So it is like anything under the sky. It's not specific, which means these sectoral definitions have been removed from the text. So let's see. The good thing for us that the reference to identifying and sharing information, best practices, lessons learned in relation to developing and implementing non-market approaches, including on how to, paragraph A, replicate successful non-market approaches, including in the local, subnational, national, and global context. This stays there. And I track back, this document was still like this even in Madrid. So this reference was there, probably we didn't notice. But there is one new paragraph, which I still don't know what exactly it means because it has an interesting text. It says, in order to leverage and generate mitigation co-benefits, assist the implementation of NDCs, it says assisting local entities in accessing climate change finance and cooperation for non-market approaches. I'm repeating once again, assisting local entities in accessing climate change finance and cooperation for NMAs. So what is the definition of entity? We don't know. It's not a legally, let's say, clear text. Is it a community? Is it an institution? Is it a local company? Is it a local government? It's not clear. So it would be good to learn who inserted this text, because it was not available when Friday night was there. So someone has worked on it. So it would be good if we try to track back what has happened there. However, now the text stays as it is. And from now on, it will be the presidency now taking it forward. And now let's go to the next slide. And it is obviously not just this document. There are several other documents that is coming up. So as of today, the presidency has stated a draft bullet points about possible content of decision 1 CP26, which is the first decision of the COP26, which will be very likely called Glasgow decision or Glasgow package, how you can call it. So this, it says context. You can imagine that this is the preamble paragraph. So it refers to some basic agreed principles. Here, there's no reference to multi-level, and that was our biggest hope. So now it's our tasks. From now on, all resources have to be mobilized to reach to the presidency that this multi-level collaboration should be entered. So that is our first thing. This is just a screenshot. There are others as well. This was previously. So what's going on today now? The negotiations will be kicking off at 10 a.m. with a stock-taking plenary. And this stock-taking plenary, the presidency will announce their vision and how to manage this process. And they will present this text very likely. They will also make open the floor for observers also to make statements. And we suggest that for that statement, it will be good to emphasize that our expectation for multi-level collaboration to be inserted in the preamble. And in the Article 6.8 negotiations, we also want sustainable urbanization to be considered. It would be good if among us, if particularly possible, political leaders could make this statement. Because it is a plenary, it may be possible that official language translation can be possible. So let's check that. If this would be the case, those who are non-English speakers, the UN languages can also make that statement. It doesn't have to be long, particularly it has to be 2 minutes. And in the worst case, if there are no other interested or available leaders who would like to deliver the statement, I can take the floor on behalf of, in my capacity as LGMA, so that I can make a brief statement. We can discuss, we have time for that. At 2 p.m. today, former President Obama is having a dialogue with the youth. You may have seen some mails coming to you over the weekend. This has created, of course, a bit waves of exploratory messages, because the invitation was not very clear. Is it open for every NGOs? Is it open for every constituency? So what has happened? And yesterday until 1 a.m., there were messages coming from the Secretariat to the constituency focal points. The announcement is that constituencies have in total 20 tickets. So we are talking about 9 constituencies. Some constituencies are large, some constituencies are less. And there are a big majority of NGOs who are not a member of any of the constituencies. So Secretary is trying to split. We try to make sure at least every constituency gets 2 tickets. And if possible, more. So we will see. Today, while we're talking, when I give back the floor to microphone, I will check, because there was a message that has arrived to me. So I assume we have at least guaranteed minimum 2. And since it is a former president of US, we would like to propose a US representative. So we have reserved at least 1 ticket to councillor from Maui County, from Hawaii, Kelly King, She's also the board member of ICLE US. If we can get the second one, we would be more than happy to discuss who would like to get this ticket. Be aware, it's not an interaction. It is just you're entering into a plenary and you're watching this. So make your expectations realistic so that don't then frustrate. You may take some photos, selfies, but if possible, we don't know the format. How will they manage the dialogue? Will they give the floor? So it's just an opportunity. Today, inside the Blue Zone, again, we have at 6:30, it's not GC for the GIZ side, it's ICLE, UCLG, Regions 4, and CMR side event, actually. This is not a side event which is on the rooms like that. It is in a multimedia room, which means it will only be broadcasted and you can watch it on the YouTube. ICLE, UCLG, CMR, Regions 4, and Basque Center for Climate Change will convene this at 6:30 today. At the pavilion, you have seen the agendas before, probably. It is the day is particularly reserved for regional governments. So we have Heloise, they will have their events, under 2 coalition will have their events. There will be a special reception. Heloise, you can also mention it. Today is particularly the day for regional governments in the pavilion. And in the negotiations, there will be an emphasis on adaptation, loss, and damage. So with this, I'd like to conclude so that we can have our debate. We can stay here for half an hour because the next session will start at 10. But if we want, we can finish it earlier as well. We have the microphone. Where's the microphone? Yeah, okay. Roberto, if you want, you can start interventions or sharing your comments. Over the weekend, Committee of the Regions also announced your position. As far as I remember, I received the email. You can also mention this if you like. But now the floor is open for all updates among members.
Yeah, just very quickly, that on the 12th of November, we are organizing an event in the morning, and the outcome of the aim of the event, it's really discussion for all of us subnational governments to reflect on what happened with this COP26 and already start working towards COP27 altogether. And the outcome of our event is to have a declaration that we will then use to start working together towards Egypt 2022. And if you want to receive more details or just how to attend, you have information either on the Multi-Level Action Pavilion website, or you go to the Committee of the Regions and you find the event on the 12th of November, so you can register and participate. And it's not a series of statements, it's a genuine discussion of 1.5 hours where we comment on the COP. There will be just some initial statements by our members of the Committee of the Regions just to keep somehow the framework of the discussion, but then it has to be an open flow, a discussion. So I look forward for your participation there. Thank you.
Roberto, just to clarify, there will be connection from here, from Glasgow. So those who are on site, including ICLE Vice President Mina Arve, Mayor of Turku, we will connect to the session virtually. And if there are others, we will see if there's anyone. I mean, I remember there was an option of your president also being in Glasgow, but I don't know whether this is the case.
The president will participate online, but the participation is possible, honestly, everywhere. You can come physically here and possible to take the floor physically from here. There will be at least one member of the Committee of the Regions physically here. And then you can also participate online, and you can speak also online, and there is actual interpretation. So it's not English only. There are 6 languages available. I'm not going through them, but you have the information online. So we try to make it as much participative as possible. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Eloise Chikou from Regions 4. So today is a big day for us. We will be doing at 2 p.m. our side event, which will be about how regional governments are raising their ambitions on adaptation and resilience. So we invite you to join. We also will launch during this side event the statement of regions for the COP, in which you will have the joint statement of regional regional governments. And we have today more than 15 regional governments that have provided endorsement of this statement. And we also launched our report gathering 11 best practices from regional governments on resilience and adaptation. So back to you, Yunus. We are happy to support you on anything you might need in the negotiations around adaptation and resilience. And we have quite a few good best practices. A final comment is we are part of the Race to Resilience, and today there is 76 regional governments that have committed to the Race to Resilience. So we make a call for other regional governments to join us and join the Race to Resilience. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Philip Turner from New ITP. I've got a comment on a question, and thanks so much, Eunice. It's really helpful for these updates, and it's really appreciated. I was interested around your question about the definition of what an entity is. I think that there are other sort of pieces of legislation, for instance, in the European Union, they have a definition of a public interest entity. And that is determined at the national level, and in circumstances that includes local level actors. So perhaps that gives you an indication of the relevance that that could mean for local governments. The second comment is on. Sorry. Yeah. The second question was. 6.4 on the market-based approaches. Do we have that sort of level of granularity? Apologies if I missed that.
Philip, can you first repeat your information about entity?
Sorry, I mustn't have been very clear. In the European Union, there is some legislation which defines what an entity is. So they call it a public interest entity. And I would argue that it's in the public interest for that to include city governments. And in certain pieces of legislation, it does. So that could give you an indication. I think it's important that it's defined at the national level, which seems very relevant for here.
So now back. Do you have a link of this definition?
Yeah.
And then can you share with the link you're on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
So I will include you. We have a WhatsApp on 6.8 so that at least we share this. That's a very valuable point that you have underlined. So it's very good for us to make sure that this refers to us. So thanks for your information.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. I have two things. One is that we will be present at the plenary. So if there is any statements that we could also take with us, we would be happy to do so. And the second is more a question related to a news item on the BBC this morning. There is an analysis done of the presence of lobbyists from the fossil industry present at this COP meeting. The number of lobbyists is fairly high. Which is a kind of an understatement. And one sentence in that article also really struck us. There was a sentence on WHO and their effectiveness in addressing tobacco. And it was said, well, it really started to be effective when the lobbyists of the tobacco industry were not present anymore at these gatherings of WHO. And the question from that is there any way that we as entities could, and I don't know what, but could somehow address this?
So first of all, on your point, when you say we, Committee of the Regions?
The Committee of the Regions,
but
yeah.
You cannot take the floor. Can you clarify this? It's only EU, because you are a member of EU delegation.
Yeah, we are members of the EU delegation. So in case we are members of the EU delegation, but so in case you have one of the tickets and you need a person, we are we have the possibility to attend on behalf of LGMA.
It's a bit tricky because in theory, those who have purple badges should not be delivering the statements of observers. There are some gray areas we play for it. So it's a bit tricky, I must confess. But in terms of attending events, that there's no problem. But when it comes to speaking, for example, the mayor of Tegucigalpa also had its party badge, but we squeezed it in. It was not the perfectly correct way to go forward, but it was not extremely, it didn't create too much inconvenience, but we should not repeat it too often. That's one point. Coming to your point on this agenda item, which is the fossil industry being excluded from the negotiation. It's a debate that is being coming up over the past 2 or 3 years. It is discussed under the context of conflict of interest into the process. And they exactly use the tobacco industry example. However, the definition is not very clear in the case of climate change. The possibility, if you extend the discussion to that extreme, that nothing related to any coal or oil industry, as far as we have seen, the text was not that clear. And this may even be an exclusion for any country, any city who depends on coal, who depends on regions. And that's one of the reasons why, first of all, this was not approved by parties, because that could imply any oil producing and oil exporting country can be excluded, because it's not a clean area as such, and this can also go to those cities who depend on coal. So it's a bit risky. It would be good to define what exactly this conflict of interest is defined. Just a point to note, because honestly speaking, the fossil industry is so much diverse than the tobacco industry. Who is private company of a fossil fuel? Who is a state company? There are several oil companies which are 99% owned by states. So if you want to exclude them, it means that you're excluding this country. Therefore, there's a huge resistance. But maybe there should be some more creative ways of pushing this. So the idea is not, we're not against this, but consequences is huge. Therefore, it's not easy to get a concrete decision on that. Please, can you?
Hi, Eunice. Yeah, we'll be there at the plenary at 11. So I just wanted to clarify. So we can speak as part of the observers from LGA, so England and Wales. Do you know if Saturday's anything to go by? Sorry, if Saturday's anything to go by, will this go on the session? So, you know, you're allowed to come in 5 or 6 p.m. We were there on Saturday at 6 p.m. in the LGMA seat, but by 8 o'clock, there still wasn't the chance to speak. We had to leave. Is there any idea about the timing of today? Not at all. That would just be the question. And then how do we agree on how many of us speak as observers around this particular issue, and whether we sort of have an agreed text amongst all of us of any of the interventions that we make, just to be strategic and supportive?
The meeting starts at 10:15, according to the UNFCCC updated calendar. The statement is, if they invite, it could be delivered by all constituencies, which LGMA is one of them. And on behalf of LGMA, only one intervention can be delivered, and we can agree who would deliver this. And I think since you are the yellow badge, and since you are a UK network, I think it would be best if you can deliver this statement on behalf of all of us. And we can work in the next couple of minutes. It will be very straightforward, because it really have to be short and very focused, so we can work on it. Is there any objection to this proposal that LGA would deliver the LGMA statement? Perfect. That's good result of today's discussions. The second point, yes, it may be postponed, it may be delayed. So anything is possible. We just have to be alert, and let's see how it will go. I'm not expecting a delay, because just the presidency for the first time explained this document. So I think everybody would like to hear, and they will also explain how they will lead this process in the next couple of days. So I don't think it is the benefit of anyone to make this meeting postponed, because then it will be a disastrous situation. So I'm expecting it will start on time. And when exactly we will be intervening, it may be possible at the beginning or at the end or never or somewhere in between. So we have to go there at the beginning and sit there. And the moment they say LGMA, you press the button and speak, and we can work on it. We have to, I mean, we don't have to repeat the roadmap. It has to be now much more focused and not much more specific. So let's work on the language together. It's basically multi-level and finance. So that will be more of the point. Any points that we'd like to address today? No? Okay, so we can declare that today's session is at least concluded. What I would suggest, actually, we should have done it at the beginning as well, at the first week as well, that a first week delegations group photo of the LGMA daily morning. Let's do it this time, because we are a bit more in number. That's good news. And that's also diverse. Joe, can you go to the first slide so that at this behind us, we have this. And can anyone help us to take photo? Joe, can you help us to take a photo? So for those on the online platform, we will close the session now, and thanks for your participation. No, it's okay. Okay. Person.